Welcome to the Summer Commission on Aging meeting. Thanks for everybody coming today. Looks like we've got a full group. And first big topic on the agenda is a discussion of the November minutes. I know we have some modifications.
I do. Two modifications on my comments. Joe and I already gave it to our recording secretary.
Thank you.
It is Senator, not Looney, but Senator Martin Looney, and it is passing the Family Medical Leave Act, adding the word act. And then I just take the last paragraph out, which was a fragmentary sentence.
Okay, great. Any other modifications to the November minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to amend the minutes as Peter suggested? So moved. Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We'll turn over to Beth Paris for our Mather Center report.
Okay, this has been a really busy month and the entertainments have been well received. There's been an entertainment every week because we're trying to get through the holiday, which sometimes isn't easy for some folks. Our Circle of Light was filled to 130 the first day, so we're going with 150. Think good thoughts. If you're praying, people pray. We also had an incredible program with the Darien High School core group came, and we did a discussion group with them today and yesterday, and we had 25 kids and 22 seniors, and it was very, 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 they want to come back again. Unfortunately, they can't stay as long as they'd like to because they have to come through bus transportation, but one of their PTOs paid for it, so that's how they got to do it. So we're looking at doing something different in the spring with them. We also, just a note, I've been keeping track, 10 Darien people brought their moms or dads to live with them this month.
Wow.
Wow.
I saw all 10. So I'm just letting you know that is a milestone. There's a few here and there always, but not every single month, but this month 10. And I had 8 calls from people. I don't know whether it came directly from the Alzheimer's Association, or I know from other sources too. One was from a selectman, of daughters that are doing caregiving that were incredibly stressed and ended up spending 25 to 40 minutes on the phone with them to help to give them some direction and let them know what they tell their story and see where they were. So they're going to be part of support group, maybe not in the group because again they're younger gals, but as a phone call away. So that, because it was so much, I wanted to mention it because that is something that I haven't seen that many people at one time. So and we're looking forward to a very busy January. We'll be doing the income tax program for the first time too, so that's something thanks to Peter, got us reconnected again with Mark, and we're looking forward to a wonderful day today, and a little tiny shutdown, and then back at it again.
For the folks watching on Channel 79, just to clarify, AARP has a tax aid program, and it's not limited in age or income or anything else. It's available to anyone that wants to file a simple return. It's been done at the Darien Library for the past number of years, and it was the largest number of returns processed in the state and a public place at the library. We processed more than 800 tax returns last year. So adding the Mather Center back makes a lot of sense, takes some of the pressure off how many people use the library.
Yeah, and when I started here, the library didn't even have the program. They did it with us for 1 year. I invited them from where I came from, and we didn't have the technology at the time that they actually needed, nor was it such a pleasant surrounding. So the library picked it right up, and they don't have very many weekdays, so we're doing Mondays.
Right.
But it's all by appointment, and we're going to manage the appointment book for them. So it's a nice collaboration as well.
What room will that be in?
That's going to be in the computer room.
Okay, great.
They're going to set up in there. They actually do still bring their own laptops, but that's going to be headquarters.
Mhm.
Also for the the privacy issues too. They can wait in the little lobby area there. So we'll see how it goes.
Good tag team. Thanks,
Yes.
Peter and Beth. Appreciate that. Any other questions for Beth? Hearing none, I will move on to our Human Services report. Allie?
Morning. Medicare open enrollment ended on December 7th. Yay. We're always relieved when that's over because it's very time consuming and it's very helpful to the residents, but it does take a lot of time. We helped a total of 68 seniors this year. which is up from last year of 48, so that's a huge jump, and a lot of new people, which is wonderful. We assisted a total of 19 people with changing their Part D coverage, saving a total of $8,036. We are totally overwhelmed in our office by the generosity of the community. We have 62 seniors that were adopted in town and 58 families. So it kind of looks like the North Pole. If you go into our office, there's presents everywhere, and we know which one's which, and we're labeling them, so it's very exciting. And the seniors, I said this before, I think, but they are just so touched. Every single one of them who gets it calls our office, thanking us profusely. We're getting cards in the mail. It's just so nice that we're able to do this for them.
How do you get them delivered?
Some of them we deliver, actually.
Okay.
Joan Davey and Diane Barson, our program assistants, for those who are homebound, or even we call them to tell them there's something, if someone's not feeling well,
Right.
they're just on the roads.
Awesome.
Some of them can come in,
Right.
and then pick it up themselves. One thing to keep in mind is that we have our emergency call list now that the winter is here, and luckily we haven't had any storms yet, knock on wood, but just to remind everybody that any senior or disabled individual who lives in Darien is able to contact our office and get on our list, and then before a storm or townwide emergency, we'll call them to make sure that they're prepared, and we'll also check on them during and after a storm. So anyone who's interested can just call our office. And energy assistance continues to be, applications continue to be accepted through March for oil heated homes and May 1st for utility heated homes. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ally? Thank you very much. And next item on the agenda, Peter attended the Connecticut Fair Housing Center and Connecticut Department of Housing's forum entitled Myth versus Reality, Mixing Populations in State-Funded Elderly and Disabled Housing. He's going to give us a report on that panel.
Okay, and Ray can chime in because Ray was there as well. Let me read you just my short notes, and again, I've given the recording secretary a copy of it.
Perfect.
Erin Kemple of the Connecticut State Housing made a presentation based on the final report, a study of tenants in state-funded elderly disabled housing. It's this report right here. The key issue is tenant behavior and causation, conflict issues between the elderly and the young and disabled. This study was based on a limited test sample of 3 housing authorities in Brookfield, Manchester, and Wallingford, and they reached no definitive conclusions, but suggested, no surprise probably, additional reviews, research, training, education, and collaboration, as well as increased funding for resident service coordinators. One of the things that came out very clearly was the use of resident service coordinators is very important because it makes it for a much more effective place.
Is that like an RA at a college?
More than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably more than that, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's more than that.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
it's like the same kind of a concept, maybe. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The commentary period was brief, uneventful, and confirming. The next step will be for the Department of Housing and the Connecticut Fair Housing Center to create a final list of recommended changes, including recommendations for changes to statutes, regulations, and administrative procedures. So what they're, and this is available, and I think you could get it through a PDF online. So what they're going to do is they're going to issue another report, hopefully that's more conclusive than this, based on the number of interviews they had in these different locations.
Fantastic.
But there's definitely a need. Ray, anything else that you might
No,
want to add?
that was it. I just thought the questionnaire was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
While I'm up, can I just report on a couple of other things?
Go for
related to-
Absolutely.
Yesterday, we had our final advocacy meeting for AARP up in Meriden, and we had 2 reps there, again, 2 state reps. And a couple of bottom lines, the Fair Housing, I'm sorry, not the Fair Housing, the Family Leave Act is definitely going to happen, I think, in the coming year. But it's going to need careful examination and, again, input from those of us that are caregivers or that are seniors, because it's going to revolve around the definition of what's family, okay? And the senators have committed themselves, certainly Looney has, that it will be a definition that will be inclusive, not exclusive. So, in other words, again, a narrow definition would be just family members like your spouse, for example. They're going to make sure it's more open, and also that the time period is more varying. In other words, it's not just that you take a block of 10 days, because what the point we were making is some caregivers need to be there for only 1 hour a day, some caregivers need to be there for 1 day a week, some caregivers need to be there for a period of time. So again, the definition of who this is going to be for is going to be important. But that's really a piece of good news. Again, in summarizing how AARP is looking at next year, there's a brochure here that they just handed out yesterday, okay? And again, I will send you, Joe, a PDF so you can get a hold of this, okay? But if I summarize, and I'm going to give one to you, and one to you, and one to you, Gina, and to one to you, Joe.
Thank you. And I'll go online and get this PDF once it's available and send it
Right.
around to everybody else.
So again, if we looked at 2018 and 2019, the overall message, I think, for 2018 was 50-plus voters really decided this election. Voting to hold politicians accountable for finding common grounds on issues that matter to older Americans and their families. Okay. Secondary messages, big risk, I think. Any elected official who starts to turn their back on issues that matter to older Americans are going to risk losing voters. America's too divided. It's time for politicians to stop playing politics and start finding bipartisan solutions. AARP surveyed districts and states across the country and showed that older voters put division in America as their number one worry. Number one worry. That's over and above health care. It overrides health care and Medicare and Social Security and caregiving and prescription drugs and financial security. So this is really, really important. Okay. And then one other piece of business.
Go for it.
It's been on our agenda for quite a while, and again, this is Joe's wish, I guess, that we find this mythical study
Yes.
that, well, you tell us what you're looking for, and then I'm going to tell you
Absolutely.
how far I've
The
come.
mythical study is this. I am very, very convinced that when a senior is in a house, it is less expensive for a town to keep that senior in his or her home and give them a tax deferral than it is to have the senior move out of the home and have a younger family move in. Simply because younger families, including my own when we had our two boys, use public schools, they use other things, and so therefore the town has far more expenses when the house turns over to a family with 2 or 3 kids than it did when there was a senior male or female living there who wasn't using town and state resources. So that's my mythical study. I want to find something that says that we can present to the town, because one of our major concerns for seniors in this town, I'm sure elsewhere, are taxes. And so if we could increase our tax relief program to raise the income and asset limit tests to allow more seniors to qualify for deferral or abatement, that would be ideal. But that study would go a long way to saying to our selectmen, our Board of Finance, etc., that, hey, this is important, this is smart for the Darien taxpayer to allow our seniors to stay at home. That's my mythical study.
Okay. Well, let me tell you how, I might have a suggestion, but let me tell you how far I've come.
Go ahead.
I've looked everywhere and I cannot uncover the study. Everyone interesting enough agrees. No one's saying that you have a false premise. Everybody says, yeah, that it really is, but no one has taken it on to do it, okay? So in my work over the last couple of months, I ran into Alicia Manel, who's the director of the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College, okay? And she had a lot of data, and we talked about it. She was kind enough to give me some time, and she said the same thing. But she said, she said, from my work, what really, really works best today and passes the test in legislatures is a tax deferral program. That a tax deferral program offers the best solution. And then she sent me a database, an enormous database of every state in the country and what their tax deferral programs are. Are there, as, for disability, for veterans, for homeowners, and it just goes on and on, okay? So we have this data that somebody can definitely take a look at and maybe analyze. But she said to me, that's the best solution, and Massachusetts has now put one in place. She said the real issue, and Joe and I had a brief conversation about this, the real issue is the senior that owns the home is afraid of doing it. There's a psychological fear that if I do this, that I'm going to kind of lose control of my house, which we know, again, is not true. And there are some states, like Oregon, for example, that have very solid programs that people are starting to take advantage of. So maybe we should have a discussion about this, and maybe what we need to do is think about how do we take the fear out of this decision. And then the other suggestion, and then I'm sorry I've taken up so much time, is, you know, if we think that study of a town makes such sense, why can't we do that in this town? And so the question would be, who could we enlist and who would be willing to do it? Again, we're surrounded by universities, so that somebody from Sacred Heart or Fairfield University or UConn, an economist or somebody interested in gerontology, might decide that this could be a good thing to do, because everybody agrees it's a good thing to do, but no one's done it.
Fair enough. And I've been in touch with Tony and Mickey, and we have some data which I will share at our next meeting as to the current status of our deferral and abatement programs. What are the numbers currently? What people qualify currently? And traded messages with Tony. I want to get him here ideally, or Millie, at the January or February meeting, because there are two aspects of this. One, what is the program? Two, what are the prospects for us raising those limits so that we can get more in? And three, to your point of publicity, how do we convince seniors that having a mortgage on their home is not the worst thing in the world, that this is a great thing for them, they get to stay in their home. So what, when the house is sold or when they pass away and their estate has to sell the home, only then will the taxes be due, and the interest rate is very low. So it's not like, it's a situation where it's effectively, to be blunt, free money, as long as they're willing to put the lien on the house. And so I do think it's three-pronged, and so I'm going to try to get Tony, if not in January, February, certainly early in the 2019s. I'd like to make a push in 2019 to see if we can do something about those limits, and even if we can't, to try to figure out how do we target, and I'll be with you, Ally, as to where are the people who are not taking advantage of it? Who can we contact? Who can we say, hey, you may qualify for this, without getting into their personal business? I don't want to get into people's finances, but at the same time, if we know that someone is living in their home and we know that they're in a position where they might benefit from this, to be able to get to that person and say, hey, listen, this is something else for you to consider in addition to oil assistance or whatever else you're getting. This would be a great way of allowing you to stay in your home a little longer than you may otherwise be able to do so. And I was trying to figure out ways of getting those folks, because they may not be the kind of person who comes in for a seminar, for example. They might be homebound, so it's not like we can even do a seminar for them. So how do we find those folks to get them to take advantage of this program, and also, quite frankly, to increase the number of people who are available for this program? Hence my mythical study. If I had my mythical study, I'd be able to say to the selectmen and the Board of Finance, here, okay, proof, right, that what I'm saying is true. And I think everybody gets it's true. It simply cannot not be true, right? In other words, you watch anybody's neighborhood. What happens when a senior moves out? A family moves in, and they're going to Tokenique, or they're going to Royal, or they're going to Oxbridge. And what are they using? Town resources. Fine, that's cool, but if the town can find a way of keeping our seniors who've given us so much to our community and save money at the same time, that's a win-win. I mean, so...
Plus those are the seniors are the ones that shop downtown, they visit stores, they're not doing things online, they're not getting their hair done in the city and things like that. So again, they're putting money into the economy.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And also with
the
their
numbers are listed for the Board of Ed per child. It's $20,100 some odd per child here in Darien that it costs.
Right.
So, and that's that's on the state.
So there you go,
Website.
$40,200
So-
for a family of two. I mean, that alone, and forget else what else they might be
Yeah.
using in Parks and Rec or whatever else. Right, I mean, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, hopefully Tony I can get him to come, and we'll, if nothing else, we'll get you the numbers. We'll have the numbers at the January meeting, and we can walk through those. If I get Tony to be here to walk us through the numbers, even better. But that is our number one goal of 2019, is to, if not expand the number of people who are eligible for the program, certainly to increase the number of people to take advantage of the program. Because we do have exactly what this BC official is saying. We do have that tax deferral program.
Right.
So, there you go. Great. Thank you. That was really a moving between Peter's report and old business. So I'm still in old business, and I have some old business, which is kind of old business, not so much. But Gina, that was a wonderful At Home in Darien annual meeting. Thank you for that. That was very well attended, and also a great presentation. Anything else going on at Home in Darien?
Well, you were very kind to share, I think, the quiz,
Yes.
the quiz on aging, which was the purpose of that was to address ageism. And I thought it brought great light to that, and it's on our website for people watching on TV 79, so that they can take the quiz themselves, because I think it was very surprising. The only other thing is, in your mailboxes, mid-January, you will get our next issue of Out and About. We have some events going on with the senior center that'll be highlighted there, and some Dementia Friends training, which we're starting to bring out to the town so that the town can become more friendly to people, seniors, and to those with dementia.
Fair enough. Thank you. Appreciate that. Other old business? Any new business? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Second. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we will see you when the clock turns 2019.